The area ranking that I did for Mario and Luigi Dream Team is not a very good video. You should not watch it. Mainly because I don't think the list itself was that bad. I just explained why each area was where horribly. Most of it was just fluff. Actually, some of the segments literally had all fluff. I basically had no reasoning, which is horrible. That's not a good video and not a good way for me to actually do it. So I had to remake this video. Now, there's really only one rule, and that's that none of these areas will count the dream worlds at all. None. So it's just going to be in the real world itself. I've already done a dream point ranking, which isn't the best video either. I might remake that as well, but it's definitely better than the area ranking I did. So let's just get right into this video. But actually, before we get into this video, I'm trying to hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you can, please subscribe, and also make sure to leave a like in this video. Let's try to hit maybe 125 likes. But other than that, let's just get started in this video now. I almost put Blimport at number 8 again. I did that for my original ranking, and I think that's a really stupid idea, even though I do still see the reasoning behind it, because Pillow Castle, which we will talk about very, very soon, of course, is not a very good area in my opinion. But Blimport, it's a tutorial area with zero substance. I mean, you have the welcome quiz, you have the block-hitting minigame, and that's it. I mean, I guess you have to go back here to get the jellyfish sheets, but that's it. Those are the only things that you actually do. And fun fact, when the character that leads you to the jellyfish sheets wants the Fly Guy steal them, he mentioned Blimport, I had no idea where to go on my first playthrough. That's how forgettable Blimport is. But I guess it's designed to be forgettable because why would you remember this place? It's the first area in the game, sure, but there's nothing here. There's a ton of tutorials and there's some okay enough music, but again, nothing super memorable. That's the thing about Blimport that I just don't like about this place. It's a tutorial area that has zero substance, which is why it's at number 9. And we'll obviously compare that to Pillow Castle, which it's a tutorial area that does have a little bit of substance. Not much, but again, there is a reason why Blimport is lower than Pillow Castle. There really is not much to this place, so I really should not be talking about it for long. Blimport is at number 9. It was pretty obvious. So Pillow Castle is not very good, but I originally had Pillow Castle under Blimport like I have said before, and I was going to do that for this list as well, but I couldn't get myself to do it, cause come on, Blimport is garbage. It's not worse than an area that has nothing to it. Pillow Castle is not that bad. I mean, I do have problems with it, and I will say them, but come on, it's not as bad as Blimport. But the problem's at this place. I mean, Smoldergeist is here. It's a terrible boss fight. I don't like the tutorials here because they're teaching you stuff that you've already learned before, and that's pretty irritating to me. I don't like the enemies here, or the one single enemy, because you've already seen them before, and they're very boring, and they're really just trying to teach you how to play the game, which I guess I'm not that opposed to, and at least there's enemies here compared to Blimport, but it's not really saying that much. And I think that the place, especially the basement, is very linear, but the thing that saves it is, well, there's two things. I do like that the battle ring is here. I do think that actually brings you back to Pillow Castle, and that's important for the other reason, and that's that Pillow Castle is actually quite fun to explore, because there's places that are locked behind you getting newer abilities, so that's kind of nice, but those are really the only two things that save it being a little bit more explorative than Blimport. I mean, that's not really saying that much. I don't like Pillow Castle at all. I really wish that this place was less tutorial-oriented, and just a better place in general. Just make it more unique. Because this place, it's very ancient, and they could have done a lot with it, but they just didn't. And that's just missed potential in my opinion, and it's why it's number 8 on this list. I'm gonna say this right now. I think that Mushrise Park is one of the most generic and boring areas in the Mario and Luigi series, and it's super unmemorable, but That's not because there's tutorials in here. Now, yes, there is a couple of them. There's the hammer tutorial and the bros attacks tutorials. But the main reason I don't mind them is because they are necessary and you have not learned them before. So, I'll let it slide for this one. But the problem with this place is that you don't really do anything in here, even for your second visit. For the second visit, you need to get the oak board thing for the ulti bed, and you're just breaking rocks. There's a lot of rocks that you have to break, and you have to explore unexplored areas. And that's cool, but there's nothing to it. You're just breaking rocks and killing enemies. That's it. That's very repetitive, and, well, it's pretty boring to me. In the first visit, all you're doing is chasing Boss Brickle. That's all you're doing, and it is a little bit interesting that he gets trapped in the fountain and you have to go underground to save him, and that's actually my favorite part of Mush Rise Park because I like the underground in this game. I like the music and the atmosphere of it, but that's it. That's all you really do, and that's all that's really interesting to me. Now, of course, if we're counting the dream world for this place, it's much better, but because we're not, the Mush Rise Park itself is very boring and you don't do that much here. Also, I don't think that Dream Team gets really good until you get to Wakeport, so yeah, that's not great for this area either. It's very slow paced, especially for the first visit. So it's not going to be very high for me personally, and it's why it's at number 7 on this list. It's just not a very good area to me. I just talked about Driftwood Shore in my last video for ranking the beach areas, and I mean, I put it at number 2, but now it's all the way down here at number 6 for the Dream Team area ranking. Again, I don't really like beach areas, but Driftwood Shore itself, well, you're not doing much here. That's the main problem. Your first visit, all you're doing is just jumping around to different dream points trying to hide Peach. That's it. That's all you're doing. The problem with this, though, is that you're not doing anything in the overworld. All you're doing is just fighting enemies and then moving around with your abilities, which at this point, you do have good abilities, which is why it is above Mush Rise Park, because this place doesn't have much substance, but at the very least, when you're moving around in a cool way, and there's some good platforming puzzles. But on your second visit, all you're doing is trying to get the jellyfish sheets, and the jellyfish sheets aren't really in Driftwood Shore. They're in a cave, which I guess I count it, but they're in the dream world, or no, I think that's the dozing sand mattress. It doesn't matter. You're not really doing much here. And then the fly guys steal it, and you have to do the mole hunt minigame again, which again, I like the mole hunt minigame, but that doesn't matter because that's the only thing that's actually substance at Driftwood Shore. You have to go back to Blimport, like I said, and that's it for Driftwood Shore. You never have to come back here again. There isn't even a boss fight in this place. That shows how bad this place actually is and how little substance Driftwood Shore actually has, and it's why it's number 6. It's just very disappointing to see. I really wish it did more with Driftwood Shore, but they really just don't, and that's why it's so low on this list. We are on to the good areas of Dream Team, which means Dozing Sands is, of course, a good area in my opinion. It's not going to be phenomenal, but for what it is, it's solid. The first visit, it's good, but again, I keep saying this, I don't think Dream Team gets good until Wakeport. So, the first visit to Dozing Sands is kind of slow, but for what it is, I mean, you get a decent amount of enemies, you get to learn new abilities. Finding the Dozites is interesting. And the main thing that really saves the first visit is using the big mechanical drill. It's just really fun to use, and you get to do a lot of different things with it. I mean, you get to obviously break rocks, you get to launch yourself into the air, you also get to fight Torque-Screw with it, which is very interesting. And then, of course, the Torque-Screw fight is decent. It's not phenomenal, but it's decent. The second visit, though, I mean, it's extremely forgettable. All you're doing is just getting the dozing mattress, and that's it. That's all you're doing for it. So, I mean, there's not really anything memorable about it. The enemies you're going to see in other places. So, again, there's nothing to the second visit. But something that really does save Dozing Sands for me personally is that I really like the music of this place. It's just so it just sounds right. I mean, it fits for a desert, and it just sounds very relaxing, and being able to listen to that the entire time is just very good, and I do like the music a decent amount, and it's why it's number 5 on the list. Actually, I don't think a lot of people really like this place too much, but for what it is, I do think it's a little bit underrated, and it definitely deserves to be at the middle of this list. I really like Wakeport. It's not only just a good town area, but as an area in general, it just works. I mean, obviously as a town area, it works really well. I mean, there's relaxing music, there's a lot of NPCs to talk to, there are a couple of side quests, and in general, it's just a relaxing place. You would go here just to chill out, and that's obviously what town areas are supposed to be. But unlike games like Bowser's Inside Story or Superstar Saga, where they just had town areas and that's all they did, for Wakeport here, they actually gave this place some substance, which is always very nice to me. I mean, there's puzzles, there's a boss here, there's a good story here with the big massive bros, there's enemies, and there's attack pieces, which in my opinion is what you need for an area. So it's literally a combination of a town and an area, and that's exactly what Wakeport needed, and it's why it's so high on the list. It's a town area with substance, which is surprisingly hard for a Mario and Luigi game, but for Wakeport, it works completely, and it's why it's so high on the list. The top 3 areas for me personally, I think all specialize in at least one thing, and for Mount Pajamaja, it specializes in your abilities. I mean, your abilities that you learn here are great. You learn most of your abilities here. I mean, you learn the spin jump, the side drill, and the ball hop. I mean, not really the ball hop because, I mean, we'll talk about the second visit later. It's not that great. But the first visit, I mean, learning the spin jump and the side drill, both are my favorite abilities from this game. They're very fun to use. I mean, think about it. The side drill is completely new, and the spin jump is classic, but you get to go much farther than normal, and you get to use them to climb the mountain, and that's what this place really shines at. All you're doing is climbing the mountain, and it's fun. Everything else is kind of meh. I mean, the enemies are fine enough. I think the music's okay. I mean, there's of course Momoshka and the fountain, but that's it. That's really all you do here. You're just climbing up the mountain, and for me personally, that's really fun. That's all you really need to focus on. But the second visit, and why it's only number 3, the second visit is not that great. I mean, the second visit, all you're doing is just getting the ball hop and then the frame, whatever it's called, the Mount Pajamaja frame for the ulti bed. And it's not that interesting. I mean, you learn the ball hop here, and you get to see the big massive bros again, but that's it. That's all you do here, and it's just kind of boring in my opinion, especially because it doesn't really focus on using your abilities that much compared to the first time you go to Mount Pajamaja. So because of that, it's significantly worse. But the first visit really makes up for it, and it's why it's so dang high on the list. Neo Bowser Castle is the last area in Dream Team. Now, I do want to point out that in my final area ranking that I did before, I actually placed this place second. And I still agree with that. This place is a very good final area, and it specializes in one thing, like I mentioned. It specializes in puzzles. The puzzles in this place are very good. I mean, one of my favorite moments in all of Dream Team for the areas is when Kamek puts a spell on every single door at the beginning of Neo Bowser Castle, and if you go into a door, you're not going to be coming out the other side. You're going to be coming out the other side of a different door, and it's so random, but it just makes the place a lot more interesting, and solving that puzzle is just really fun to do. And then you have to get rid of these flames in the dream world, which I'm not counting the dream world itself on this list, but obviously the flames as an obstacle is pretty cool. And I like the enemies in this place. I think the music is very underrated, and I like how this place looks. Honestly, that's all you need for a final area. Everything in this place works, which is, again, all you need, and it's why it's so dang high in the list. And I also like the second to last room, where it's just a huge spiral and you're trying to dodge bombs. It's very cool, and it's why, just those little moments like that is why I like Neo Bowser Castle so much, and it's why it's number 2 on this list. While I said that the top 3 specialize in one specific thing, I kinda lied, cause Somnom Woods specializes in multiple things. But before I actually get into what it specializes in, I do want to get the main complaint out of the way. I don't like the enemies in this place. I think the bee hosses are terrible. I think the boomerang bros are fine. And the tower guys that you see later in Somnom Woods are not very good either. So overall, the average for these enemies are not very good. But everything else about this place is phenomenal. I love it. I love the atmosphere. This place is beautiful. The music is really good. And the layout is pretty much perfect in my opinion. So that's the 4 things that it specializes in. But obviously the use of the abilities are really good. And the puzzles in this place are also pretty good. Now that's very important to point out, because even though Mount Pachamaja specializes in the abilities and Neo Bowser Castle specializes in the puzzle, Somnom Woods are second for both of those, so it really shows that this place is good for every single aspect. My favorite part, honestly, is when you get to the Temple of Somnom Woods, and you have to put in these puzzle pieces, and you have to ride, I think it's like a minecart to each of the places, and there's a minigame that's really fun. So, overall, Somnom Woods is one of the best areas in Dream Team, and honestly, one of the best areas in the Mario and Luigi games, and this was my number 1 originally. And it's not very shocking that it stayed number 1 for this list as well. It's just that good of an area. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like. I'd really appreciate that. Let's try to hit 100 likes. I think that's what I said at the beginning. And also, make sure to subscribe if you've lasted this long. I really appreciate that as well. Also, I have a podcast called The Flatmates, so I'll have that on the screen. But other than that, G-bye.